oh my God, it's going to be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships.
Durant's been a friend of mine for a very, very long time. Yeah, I mean, he's been a friend of mine for a long time. So has LeBron and all those guys. Would I make the same decision? No. But that's their decision.
Well, I mean, every day. I mean, since, for 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process.
Phil Jackson gets asked between you and MJ, right? Because he coached both of you guys. So, you constantly gets asked that question.
He's always going to pick the first child.
He's going to pick the first child. But I tell you, he said something about you that to me, it's a level of respect that any player can duplicate what he said about you. To me, the level of respect for that is a whole different level. You can't teach big hands. Right? You cannot teach that, right? You cannot teach 49, 48-inch, whatever the vertical leap is, and you cannot teach that, right?
Sure.
But he said nobody in his history of coaching had your level of work ethic. I mean, you hear so many guys tell stories about your work ethic.
Yeah.
What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. I mean, since 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process, and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40, it wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive. Right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast. Right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game, and it just never changed.
It's a simple thing of math. If you want to be a great player, if you play every single day, 2-3 hours, every single day, over the course of a year, how much better are you getting? Most kids will play maybe, an hour and a half, 2 days a week.
Right.
Do the math on that.
It's not
going to get it done. It's not going to get it done, right? So if you're obsessively training 2-3 hours every single day over a year, over 2 years,
you're accelerating.
You make quantum leaps, man. Yeah, it's not. There's no
it's math.
It's it.
Show up every single day.
Show up every single day. Do the work.
In your basketball career, did you have an articulated competitive philosophy, something short that meant something to you that really stood for what you played?
My philosophy was a very simple one. And this is where I think film plays a big part of my life. Rudy was one of my favorite films growing up. After watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day, with being blessed with the physical tools that I have, what would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, what do you have?
That's exactly right.
So the one thing when I see with you, and I think about like brain and I think focus, like how so many different things brain can get distracted on, and I'm going to put focus on this and focus on this and focus on this. Do you think one of the edge you had over everybody else was the biggest percentage of your focus was on one thing? Do you see it that way? Like that was my edge over everybody else?
I do. At the time, I didn't really understand that, right? So, basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
The world becomes your library to help you improve your craft, better your craft.
Yes, indeed.
So because you know what you want, the world's giving you exactly the information you
100%,
need to become better at it.
Because you know what you're looking for.
We used to have an All-American camp that I used to go to, and at the time when I first showed, I was a sophomore, and one of the things I would do is while everybody would be at the cafeteria, eating and doing all sort of stuff, I'd just go back to the gym. I just go back to the gym. I mean, it's just, you
They'd
know,
be resting,
they'd be
eating.
and they'd see me leave, right? But now you're in a tough position because you're like, okay, I want to be like I'm following the kid to go work out, but I
Right.
know he's working, he's up early, and he's doing all this other
Wow.
stuff. And so that was my way of showing them, yeah, I may be from the suburbs, but you're not going to outwork me.
Yeah.
Were you sizing those guys up the same exact way as you did in high school?
I did, but in the NBA, it was actually easier because what I found in the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability. So therefore, the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships. It's like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And then you had the players that had that passion, but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things. You have family. You have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your number one priority. And so I was just looking at that like, man, this is going to be fun.
You have this Mamba mentality. Your book's coming out soon, and how did you develop this? There's a beautiful story that I love from Jay Williams. I don't know if you remember Jason
Yeah.
Williams, where he did an interview a while back, and he talked about how when he played you, I think the first time, or one of the first times he played against you, he was like, I'm going to show up so early to the court to warm up and practice like before anyone.
Yeah.
And he shows up at the court. I don't know if it was in LA or where it was, and you were the only one there, already shooting free throws, already doing your fundamentals. And he goes, I'm going to stay here until Kobe leaves. And then he was like, gosh, an hour and a half, 2 hours later,
I got to go.
I'm tired. And Kobe's still shooting free throws, scoring, like just going over the fundamentals. And he
Right.
goes, and then we played that game and you were lights out. And he came up to you afterwards and said, like, dude, why were you in there for so long? And how'd you do it? And he said, this is what he said, you said, I knew you were watching and I
Right.
wanted to show you that I was willing to outwork you.
Right.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you remember this.
I remember that.
You remember, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was so powerful that you have this mindset, but how did you develop that? I don't know if that's what you call the Mamba mindset, but how did you develop that? And
Well,
when did it start?
It started in middle school and high school because a lot of the kids that I was playing against were inner city kids.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at me as if, okay, this kid's soft, right? He's from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His father played in the NBA, played professionally.
He's got it easy.
Got it easy, born on second, all this other stuff, right? And so they felt like they could try to be physical or try to intimidate me and do all this other stuff, which they couldn't, right? But now I'm saying, okay, well, you're trying to attack me. How am I going to attack you? How can I mentally figure out ways to break you down? How can I show you that, no, I have the edge, right? And so that's when it first started for me, is figuring out how to get the upper hand on an opponent that way.
And I think one of the things for some, if you follow basketball or not, that you and Mike had in common is that it wasn't, hey, I'm going to take 8 games off this year to try to stay healthy. The mindset of knowing, like that to you is comical, right, to do that.
What the hell is that, man? I don't know what that is. That's crazy. Seriously, it's crazy. Like, you got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. Perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking shit. Like, it's not, oh my God, my back hurts, I'm sore, we got to play Vince Carter and Toronto Raptors tonight. We actually had this happen. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But like the perception of that, like what? Kobe's missing the game against Toronto and Vince Carter because my back was really spasming. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where, you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That shit ain't bothering me today.
Wow.
He gonna have to see me today. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So when you sized your peers up, how'd you size your peers up? Like if you're sizing people, I'm talking you're 13 years old, you're sizing peers up, what lens are you looking through your peers?
So at 13 years old, I had a I had a kill list. And so, they used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. And so I will look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I got to hunt them down, right? And so that became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down. That was it.
Get a target on them right off the bat.
That was it.
Very simple. That's unbelievable. Let me ask you this question. You say I'm one of the guys on that list ahead of you, and we play. What are you doing to get a feel? Is your mind like, are you asking, let me see if this guy's better than me in this side and this side and this side? Or are you just going saying, I'm going to kill this guy?
Well, it depends what year. So like at 13 years old, I played the longer game because my game wasn't about being better than you at 13. It was to be better than you when, the chips are really on the line. So when we played at 13, I would size you up and see what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you approach the game? Are you silly about it? Are you goofy about it? Are you good at it just because you're bigger and stronger than everybody else? Right? Or is there actually thought and skill that you put into it? Right? And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I played to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better? Right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. Right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17, now you got a problem.
That's right.
You got a problem.
Jeannie is so sweet that she saw me work so hard for so many years. And the last few years, her and Rob, who was at the time my agent, called me and said, listen, we are so sorry for what happened to this team. We're sorry that we don't have, seriously, it's like we're sorry we don't have a team around you that can contend for a championship. I mean, so we can make a few calls and get you on a contending team if that's something, because we just feel horrible about seeing you going out there and struggle. Remember this? And I sat there and I listened. I said, we've known each other for a very long time. Now I'm questioning myself because I'm wondering what about me makes you think I would jump ship? We don't do that.
Because
we don't do that.
we couldn't take losing and how angry you would get.
I know. That's probably what it is.
We were scared.
But to me, it's it's not like the Lakers. I've been a Laker fan since 5 years old, man. I know the Laker history all the way from Minneapolis all the way to where it is today. Right? So it's in my blood. And this family, her father, believing in me and standing by me and all sorts of stuff. Like I'm not gonna go anywhere. Like this is home to me. We work through this stuff together. And like, as a leader, you gotta be able to take the good with the bad, man. You can't just, because the ship's sinking, all of a sudden I'm gonna jump off and swim to another ship like that. You don't do that, right? If you can win championships in front of everybody, then you could miss the playoffs in front of everybody. You gotta be able to take both sides of it.
Or sign with Golden State.
But they weren't losing.
It's the opposite view. It's the opposite view. And
No, it's hard. It's hard to stay.
It is hard.
And that's why in the jersey retirement ceremony, I talked about that. It might have been easier for you to leave, and you didn't. And that,
Yeah. If you're doing something that's so easy, man, you might want to reconsider what you're doing. Like I can't. Durant's been a friend of mine for a very, very long time. Yeah, he's been a friend of mine for a long time. So has LeBron and all those guys. Would I make the same decision? No. But that's their decision. That's their choice. I would have stayed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, people have to do what's right for them. It's not a judgment. It's just a fact. So it is. It is.
It is what it is.